Well, good afternoon, everyone. It has been a big day in the Commonwealth of Kentucky today. This morning we celebrated a $1.4 billion investment from our federal government in our energy infrastructure, especially in and around eastern Kentucky, that's going to be occurring over the next several years. And now, this afternoon, we are going to conduct this first lottery for our medical cannabis program. Since taking office, my administration's been committed to providing access to health care and to creating safe communities for all Kentuckians. It's been a priority to ensure those that suffer from serious conditions such as cancer or PTSD, that they can get the medicine and the relief that they need and that works for them. For that reason, 2 years ago, I signed an executive order protecting Kentuckians with certain medical conditions who are desperate for relief. But at that time, I said I hoped the General Assembly would act, that we would break through the partisanship and enact a real medical cannabis program into state law, that we in Kentucky could ensure that our citizens could get the help and the care that they need. In an act of bipartisanship, we did. Last year, I signed Senate Bill 47 into law, which legalized medical cannabis in the Commonwealth beginning January 1st, 2025. Under the law, the medical cannabis in our program has to be cultivated, processed, tested, and dispensed by licensed businesses here in the Commonwealth, meaning every winner of today's drawing will be a Kentucky business employing Kentuckians, moving our economy and our health care forward. So I worked with partners in the General Assembly, and in April, we signed House Bill 829, which moved up the timeline for licensing medical cannabis businesses by a full 6 months. Otherwise, we would have been doing the work just to lead up today in the beginning parts of next year. What it means is we are on track to provide medical cannabis as quickly as possible, and you can see there's been a huge amount of work that's gotten us to this day. I want to thank Sam Flynn, the Office of Medical Cannabis, for doing a significant amount of work in a short period of time. This administration did not wait. We moved forward and began receiving applications from prospective medical cannabis businesses in July. The interest was overwhelming. In total, the Office of Medical Cannabis received 4,998 applications across all the categories, which brings us to today. In a few moments, in partnership with the folks at the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, who we thank for their service and their professionalism, the fact that they do this every day and they do it with such integrity shows how serious this program is and how it is fair to all of the applicants that met the requirements to be in the lottery. Through the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, we will begin the first licensed lottery for medical cannabis cultivators and processors. We're going to hear from Sam Flynn about the licensing process and the lottery, but I would remind people that remember, when this program starts, it is limited. That's the way it was set up by the General Assembly. There are only certain specific conditions that are included, and our goal has always been to get it right, to start it at the right size and to be able to grow from there, but to make sure we don't replicate mistakes made in other areas or in other states, and ultimately create a system that is bigger than the initial demand may be. I believe the way this has been put together is responsible. It's going to ensure that we have a system that is properly regulated and is safe. And today, we're going to learn about the processors and the cultivators that are going to be the first licensees that are going to help us bring this program into existence. So first, we'll hear a few words from the Office of Medical Cannabis Executive Director Sam Flynn about the licensing process and lottery. It's going to be a truly exciting moment for Kentucky. We're so glad to have everybody here to take part and to watch. With that, I'll turn it over to Sam, and I'll be back after the lottery, which will mainly just come out as a number of numbers, to announce the identity of the first set of winners to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Sam?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you. As the Governor mentioned, my name is Sam Flynn. I'm Executive Director for Kentucky's Office of Medical Cannabis. Today, we're here in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, where in a few moments we'll conduct the first medical cannabis business license lottery for cultivators and for processors. I want to take a moment to thank the Governor for his leadership on this issue. which has greatly helped us in our mission to build and implement the medical cannabis program here in Kentucky. I also want to thank the governor and our partners in the General Assembly for moving up the time frame for medical cannabis business licensing so that we can do this today, as the governor mentioned, as opposed to next year. As the governor also mentioned, before we begin the lottery process, I want to provide some background and on our licensing structure and today's process. Because our program is rooted in patient access, it's critical that our business licensing framework ensures that the industry is both stable and sustainable and grows according to cardholder demand, as the governor mentioned. For this reason, our initial license availability for each category was 10 Tier 1 cultivator licenses, 4 Tier 2 cultivator licenses, 2 Tier 3 cultivator licenses, 10 processor licenses, and ultimately 48 dispensary licenses. Today, we will be selecting the 26 cultivator and processor licenses through a lottery process. We considered the best practices used in other states and determined this was the most fair and transparent way to build this exciting new industry in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It should be noted that other states are also adopting this approach, and many states have already conducted licensed lotteries in their states. To conduct the lottery, we partnered with the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, who we're going to hear from in a moment. They are an independent third party with undeniable and unmatched experience with random draw processes. They run draws every single day. To become eligible for this lottery, the prospective businesses were required to apply to the Office of Medical Cannabis. Their applications required those applicants to submit documentation and information to the office to show that they were serious about being a responsible medical cannabis business licensee. That documentation required, amongst other things, a business history, operation plans, financial information, ownership information, and business location and site plans. They were also required to submit an application fee. Applications were notified of any deficiencies in their applications and were given an opportunity to cure. If an application was complete and had no deficiencies, they were approved. If it was deficient, it was denied. Some other applications were denied due to failure to pay, applying in multiple license categories, or for other violations of our licensing and application regulations, which are now effective. In total, 918 applications were submitted for cultivators and processors. Of those, 774, or 84%, of the applications were approved to be in today's lotteries. 144 were denied. For cultivator Tier 1, 239 applications were submitted, 173 were approved. For cultivator Tier 2, 190 applications were submitted, 174 were approved. Cultivator Tier 3, 155 applications were submitted, and 137 were approved. 334 processor applications were submitted, and 290 were approved. I will note that only 170 applications were initially correct and did not need to be cured, meaning 604 applicants received their deficiency notifications and were able to correct the deficiencies identified, which shows that this process was designed to help the licensees get to this stage of the process. Because the number of the eligible applicants in each category exceeds the number of licenses available, we will be holding the lotteries in those 4 categories today. I want to congratulate the applicants who were notified of their eligibility for today's lotteries. This is the most fair and transparent way of selecting those applicants who will ultimately be part of this program. Now, for the lottery today. In a moment, the Office of Medical Cannabis will begin the process of conducting the lottery for those 4 categories. To do so, the office will provide an identified hard copy file of the eligible applicants for each category to a representative from the Office of Legal Services and the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Those files contain the name of the applicant, its county and city location, and a unique numerical identifier. The Office of Legal Services will then provide a de-identified version of the hard copy to Greg Baird, Vice President of Security Operations for the Kentucky Lottery Corporation. The file is de-identified for security purposes. The de-identified version of the file will redact the applicant's name, the location, and the unique identifier so that no one at the Lottery Corporation knows which applicant is being selected when the drawing occurs. At that point, the Lottery Corporation is in charge and responsible for the random draw process. Throughout this process, both the Lottery Corporation and the Office of Medical Cannabis will maintain a chain of custody record to record the possession and transfer of the files. Terry Sebastian, Director of Communications and Public Relations at the Lottery, will narrate exactly what is taking place while the Lottery Corporation is conducting this process, and I will provide additional commentary about the license types throughout. After each of the lotteries has taken place, the Lottery Corporation will return the de-identified files indicating those numbers that were selected to the Office of Legal Services. That office will re-identify the files on the identified list and those applications corresponding to the numbers selected. The identified files with the selectees indicated will then be provided to myself, and we will verify the selectees. They will be uploaded on the screen, and we will announce them for you here today. The entire process will be filmed for transparency and for your viewing. At this time, I will turn it over to Terry Sebastian, and we will shortly begin the lottery process. Terry.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Sebastian. I am Director of Communications here at the Kentucky Lottery. Let me first say that the Kentucky Lottery is proud to have been asked to be a part of this important initiative, and we appreciate the hard work and dedication of Governor Beshear and this administration to help build and implement Kentucky's medical cannabis program. Now, as many of you may know, the Kentucky Lottery is celebrating its 35th anniversary. We are 35 years old. We have a well-established reputation with Kentuckians in the lottery draw process. Like most lotteries, we have moved away from the ball machines to the industry standard of random number generator machines. And for today's purposes, we will just refer to those as RNG machines. The Kentucky Lottery holds 2 drawings daily, 365 days a year. In our draw studio today, there will be 3 longtime lottery employees: our Vice President of Internal Audit, Ingram Quick, our Security Draw Manager, Beth Wheeler, and our Vice President of Security Operations, Greg Baird. Now, our draw team is currently preparing for today's draw. Each member goes through safeguards before each draw to ensure integrity and proper oversight. Here at the lottery, we have 2 RNG machines. One is labeled even, and the other is labeled odd. Prior to opening the machine that we will be using today, our team will roll a die. The number they roll will determine if they use the even or odd RNG machine for today's draw. Each draw is separate and will take approximately 1 minute and 45 seconds. At the completion of each draw, the numbers generated on our draw machine will appear on the machine's monitor, and we will read those numbers aloud. As Sam mentioned, once our draw team has completed each draw today, they will print those out, each will sign off on them, and we will place those results in a folder. Once all 4 draws are complete, our Vice President of Security Operations will return the final draw results and sign a chain of custody form to the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. I will now turn it back over to Sam for the Office of Medical Cannabis to start the file transfer process.
Medical Cannabis, Scotty McFarland, is currently signing over the custody documents, hard copy files to Blake Vogt, who is our Deputy General Counsel in the Office of Legal Service at the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Those files, again, contain the name of the applicant, the county, the city, location, and the unique numerical identifier. The file is numbered 1 through however many applicants we ultimately have for each drawing. The applicants are listed in a random order, as I mentioned earlier, set by the Cabinet, so that no one knows which applicant is associated with which number in the file. Ultimately, Blake will now provide a copy momentarily of the de-identified version of the records to Greg Baird, the Vice President of Security Operations for the Lottery Corporation. It's important to note that the file is, again, de-identified for security purposes so that nobody outside of this process and nobody at the Lottery Corporation actually knows the identity of those folks that are selected. So it looks like the chain of custody document has been signed, and at this point, the Lottery Corporation is now going to be in charge of the process. So at this point, the ball is in your court, and if you want to walk us through a little bit about what the process is going to look like as Greg takes this down the hallway to the draw room, I think that'd be great.
All right, so what we're going to see now is Vice President of Security Operations is walking down the numbers to our draw team, and you will see that he has given the information to our draw team. They will review the numbers in order to actually implement today's 4 drawings. And that is what they're doing now. They're going through the documentation to ensure they have the information for today's 4 drawings. Once they have gone through those, which it looks like they have, they will roll a die to determine if it is even or odd. There's the roll of the die, and it looks like they have chosen the even random number generator machine. They will now open that machine. There's a seal that they are breaking. They will uncover the machine and they will start the process. The next part of the process is they will separately put in their security credentials into the machine for today's drawing. I will note that this step, like all others, are important for our draw team to make sure that there is adequate separation of security duties in the draw process. Once these procedures are complete, our draw team will signal to Sam and I that they are ready to start the first draw. While they are doing that, I will ask Sam, can you tell us a little bit about the number of selectees we are drawing today?
Sure. Thanks, Terry, and thanks for walking us through that process. So today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be drawing 26 ultimately licenses for medical cannabis businesses here in the Commonwealth, cultivators and processors. The first draw will be for processors, and there will be 10 of those. There will be 10 for Tier 1 cultivators. Now, that's the smallest category. 4 for Tier 2, that's a little bit larger, and 2 for Tier 3, and that will conclude our drawing. A moment ago, I mentioned that in total, we received 918 applications for these 26, and 774 will be included in one of these draws today. For processors, 290 are going to be in for this first draw, and that represents about 87% of those who applied. So really, really good approve rate on those. For cultivators Tier 1, 173 are going to be included in today's draw, and that's about 72%. For cultivator Tier 3, I think they have the highest, or Tier 2, they have the highest. 174 that are included in today's draw. It's about 92%, so they really did a great job on those applications. And then for Tier 3, 137 will be drawn for the 2 licenses allocated for that category, and that's about 88% of the total applications.
Okay, so we have been signaled that they are going to start the first draw. This will be for processors, and so the draw has began. And while we wait for the results, I will ask Sam to tell us a little bit about this category, which is processors.
Yeah, so Terry, processors are an important part of the supply chain for medical cannabis businesses. And as the governor noted, all of the medical cannabis in Kentucky that's ultimately sold in dispensaries to folks with serious medical conditions like cancer and PTSD, all of that has to be grown, processed, tested, and ultimately dispensed here in the Commonwealth. And the processors are the ones that are taking that raw plant material and converting it into finished products. And it looks like the draw is actually being pulled right now, Terry, and I'll be happy to read off those numbers for us. 142, 187, 202, 92, 52, 242, 214, 227, 12, and 33. And I'm going to read that again for those watching and for our team here. The numbers are 142, 187, 202, 92, 52, 242, 214, 227, 12, and 33.
So our draw team now will print out the results of this draw. Each will sign the draw results, and they will place those in a folder ahead of the next drawing. But before we get started on that drawing, Sam, tell us, why are we drawing for cultivators and processors at this stage of the program?
So that's a great question, Terry. I'm glad you asked it. So the reason why we're drawing cultivators and processors at this early stage in the process is because, as I mentioned, all of that medical cannabis product has to be grown and processed here in the Commonwealth. So we need to start building up that supply chain first before we move on ultimately to licensing the dispensaries where folks will be able to purchase their medical cannabis. It's important, again, that these businesses are ultimately the first part of that supply chain. We want to get medical cannabis to the folks at the soonest possible date that they can get it. Again, the Kentucky Medical Cannabis Program is about making sure that folks that have cancer and PTSD and other serious medical conditions ultimately have safe, affordable access to medical cannabis. It's one of the reasons why we certainly appreciate the governor's hard work and our partners in the legislature that ultimately got House Bill 829 passed and signed and let us issue licenses now rather than sometime in 2025. We know those folks need access to their medications sooner rather than later.
All right, so we have been signaled that we are ready to start the second drawing, which is for Cultivator Tier 1. So the draw has started, and again, Sam, tell us a little bit about Cultivator Tier 1.
I think the numbers have come down. Is it possible to get the numbers posted back up? We'll wait momentarily. Now, Terry, while we wait for the draw team, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Kentucky Lottery Corporation, what it is, what it does, and how it operates to help fund education here in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, so as I said, the Kentucky Lottery has been around for 35 years. We have in place our mission to fuel imagination and fund education. We fund 7 scholarships through the work that our players do when they buy the different lottery games. This past fiscal year, we were able to transfer more than $4 million to state government, and I believe that the numbers are coming up for the Cultivator Tier 1.
And we should have those numbers momentarily. I will, and here they are. So for Cultivator Tier 1, the numbers are 141, 125, 164, 135, 112, 38, 51, 123, 49, and 5. And I'll read those again from the top. 141, 125, 164, 135, 112, 38, 51, 123, 49, and 5.
And as you will see in the draw studio now, they have printed out those results. Each of our draw team is signing those results, and they will put those in a folder and set them off to the side. And so as we wait for the next drawing, Sam, can you tell us a little bit about the categories for the next round of lottery drawings coming up in the next few weeks?
Yeah, Terry. So as we mentioned today, we're doing drawings for cultivators tiers 1, 2, and 3, and processors. And we've already had the drawings for cultivator tier 1 and processor, and we're waiting for cultivators tiers 2 and 3. In the coming days, we will announce when the date for dispensary lotteries will be held. We have 11 dispensary licensing regions where we will have 48 medical cannabis dispensaries located throughout the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It's important to note that we created these licensing regions based on a drive time analysis with the good folks at the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet so that folks with these serious qualifying conditions have access points throughout the state and the shortest possible drive time to a dispensary nearest them. We also listened to the local community leaders throughout the state, and we wanted to make sure that this program was safe and secure with access points. So to do that, we made sure that in each licensing region, there'll be 4 dispensary licenses, with the exception of the region containing Jefferson County and the region containing Fayette. Each of those counties will have 2 each. But we wanted to make sure that ultimately this was secure, so no more than 1 dispensary will be permitted in the remainder of the counties throughout the state.
And so we are ready for the next draw, which is for Cultivator Tier 2. And as we wait for those results, I will let you talk a little bit about Cultivator Tier 2.
Sure, Terry. So Cultivator Tier 2 is a little bit larger than a Cultivator Tier 1. Tier 1 is 2,500 square feet of indoor growing space. The key piece to our program is that all the medical cannabis in Kentucky has to be grown indoors. Cultivator Tier 2s are about 10,000 square feet of indoor growing space, so a little bit larger. Facilities getting up to that more industrial size. And it looks like the 4 results have popped up for the 4 licenses allocated for Cultivator Tier 2, and those numbers are 007, 135, 54, and 164. And I'll say that again, 7, 135, 54, and 164.
So as you will see, our draw team, they're signing off on those results. They will put them in a folder, set them off to the side, and we will move into shortly our next drawing. But before that, let's just talk a little bit, Sam, about the importance of the medical cannabis program in Kentucky.
Sure, Terry. So the Kentucky Medical Cannabis Program in Kentucky is administered by the Office of Medical Cannabis within the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. As a result of the passage of Senate Bill 47, which the governor signed into law in 2023, that law legalizes medical cannabis for a small group of folks that have a number of very serious conditions. Cancer, PTSD, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, chronic pain, chronic nausea, very serious conditions. And we want to make sure that Team Kentucky is focused on healthcare and helping our neighbors, and certainly folks that have those serious conditions deserve our help. And so our mission is to ensure that those folks have safe, affordable access to medical cannabis. And we really focus on the access piece. We want to make sure that these folks have access points throughout the state. We want to make sure that they have the safest possible medical products and the best possible care available. So we really are emphasizing the health care aspect of this program, and we also want to follow not just the letter of the law, but the intent of the law as well. We want to make sure that folks that have these conditions have access, but also make sure that folks that aren't supposed to have it do not have access.
Great. So we are ready for our last drawing, which is for Cultivator Tier 3. And I will let Sam read the numbers because they just popped up on the screen.
Well, the numbers, the results on the screen are 91 and 45. And I'll say it again, 91 and 45 are the results for Cultivator Tier 3. That's our largest cultivation tier. That's about 25,000 square feet of indoor growing space. That's a little bit more than half an acre for the folks that are tuned in and watching. Again, more industrial size and scope, and certainly going to make significant economic development and workforce development impact on whatever community they locate in.
And so now that this is the last of the 4 drawings, our draw team will begin to close out the draw process. This includes our Vice President of Security Operations, who is remained in the studio. He is being handed the results right now. He will walk the results of the 4 results of the draws today down to the General Counsel of the Health and Family Services Cabinet, and he will sign a chain of custody form. And this completes the Kentucky Lottery's portion of the October 8th medical cannabis drawing for cultivators and processors. And I'll turn it back over to Sam.
Thanks, Terry. So, as you mentioned, Greg Baird, the Vice President of Security Operations for the Lottery Corp, has come back, as folks can see on their screen, and he has provided the de-identified lottery results to our team here in the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, Office of Legal Counsel. The Deputy General Counsel has joined us today, Blake Vogt, and is assisting us with re-identifying those results that were pulled just a few moments ago. So very shortly we'll find out which businesses are associated with which numbers, and ultimately be able to provide those results to the governor to announce for all the folks watching at home. Again, this entire process has a chain of custody, so we're recording the transfer as it transfers from one person to the next to ensure security throughout this entire process. Again, we wanted to make sure that this process was fair for everybody who applied, but ultimately transparency was at the core of the way we put this program together, and I couldn't thank the Kentucky Lottery Corporation enough for y'all's partnership in this process. And while we wait for our team to re-identify the results files, I want to tell you a little bit about some of the exciting things that are going to be happening with the Office of Medical Cannabis and with medical cannabis generally in the Commonwealth over the course of the next several weeks and on into the new year. As many folks know, there's a big election coming up in about a week, and 106 jurisdictions in the Commonwealth of Kentucky will be voting on medical cannabis, whether to allow these businesses to operate within their jurisdictions. So 53 counties and 53 cities will be voting on this. In some cases, folks will be voting both at the county level and the city level, so they'll be able to vote for it for either one. It's important to note that this relates to the business operations alone. It does not have any impact on the ultimate card holders and whether they can access medical cannabis and use their medical cannabis at their home if they're in one of these jurisdictions that has opted out or ultimately decides to vote to opt out at the ballot. So really important elections coming up on that, and we'll certainly be tracking in our office. If folks want to see where this is going to be on the ballot, we have some great interactive maps on our website, kymedcan.ky.gov. Highly recommend you go there and see which counties are in, which counties are out, which counties are voting on this. Very exciting stuff. Also, we've begun a significant amount of outreach for practitioners. So to get a medical cannabis card in the Commonwealth, you'll need to get a written certification from an authorized medical cannabis practitioner. We've begun a series of webinars with practitioners from around the state, so doctors and APRNs. We've had over 1,100 sign up and several hundred have already attended. And currently we have over 100 authorized and registered practitioners already here in Kentucky. It's a great number. We certainly expect that to grow over the course of the next several weeks, months, and years as we move forward. And ultimately, folks will begin to see those practitioners here in the next several weeks and months, get their written certification, which is good for 60 days. And then on or after January 1st of 2025, they will be able to apply for a medical cannabis card through the Office of Medical Cannabis portal. Again, that's kymedcan.ky.gov. That's the place to go for that. And we're certainly excited. We think that there's going to be a significant amount of interest. As with the businesses, we've seen a significant amount of traffic in terms of the folks who have reached out to us about how they can sign up, and we've got a lot of really great resources on our website. For practitioners, we have a guide that will walk practitioners through the process so that they can go ahead and become authorized and registered practitioners in Kentucky. We also have a guide and important docs for patients that will walk them through the process step by step, how they can become a medical cannabis card holder in Kentucky, and how those ultimately the rules apply to them. So how they can transport it, what it's going to look like, what their medical cannabis card is going to look like, and how much it's ultimately going to cost. So some really, really important pieces of information, again, available at our website. And if people have questions, we certainly encourage them to reach out. Again, through our Contact Us portal, we try to answer every single question that we get, and certainly we've received thousands. So again, a lot of really exciting stuff coming over the course of the next several weeks. And it looks like our team is very close to reaching the end of re-identifying the results, and we should have results ready to announce very shortly. I did want to ask Terry, I know many people have asked us certainly when we set up a lottery process and announced that the Lottery Corporation was going to be involved, what happened with the ball machines?
Well, like we said, most lotteries have moved more toward the random number generators. It's just the industry standard. But if we sort of kept that tradition, anyone wants to come to the lottery, we have a tribute to those balls in our chandelier. If they're a winner to the Kentucky Lottery, they can come in, they can see those. But most lotteries have moved to the RNGs, and that's the standard that we use here. Like I said, in our 2 draws each day, 365 days a year.
Well, we certainly appreciate the support and you allowing us to use the random number generator for the purpose of this process. As I mentioned earlier, a number of states have moved in this direction and are beginning to hold licensed lotteries for their medical cannabis businesses or their cannabis businesses generally. And we noticed from the beginning that this was a best practice throughout all of the states, and we had a directive from the General Assembly and the law to look at those best practices, and that's certainly something that we've looked at as we've set up this program writ large. Again, we appreciate the Lottery Corporation's assistance with this process, which I believe is about wrapped up. Wanted to touch on a couple pieces with respect to card holders before we jump. So medical cannabis card holders, again, can begin applying for their medical cannabis card January 1st of this coming year. They will need a written certification. That written certification is good for 60 days. Folks can go to our website and see exactly the steps that are required. They can also see what the 30-day supply limit is and what physicians can do with respect to writing certifications. So physicians in this program will be able to write certifications for the amount of medical cannabis that a person needs, much like a prescription medication. Those folks will be able to set the different types of medical cannabis that a patient could ultimately get. So for example, if your physician recommends that you have a tincture or an ointment or some sort of edible product, then that's what you get, and you don't get the other product types. So really important safeguards in our program. Again, we want to make sure that this is safe, that it's driven by healthcare and healthcare decisions, and that's certainly what's going to happen with respect to the written certifications, all of which are tracked, again, through our system. An important piece to note on the medical cannabis, all the cannabis that will flow through the medical cannabis program in Kentucky and the businesses that we've licensed here today will be tracked and traced. So we will actually be able to see what medical cannabis anyone has purchased, from where, when, and how much, and be able to trace it all the way back to the plant or set of plants that it was actually manufactured from. So really important safeguards that we've developed in this program, and something we're really looking forward to. And with that, I think we have the results file, and at this time, we will go and read those results.
Once again, thank you to the Kentucky Lottery Corporation. Thank you to the Office of Medical Cannabis. As you can see, this drawing was fair, secure, state-of-the-art, and fully transparent, ensuring that everyone had eyes on each and every part. We wanted to make sure we did it this way because we know that there is a lot, if not an overwhelming interest in being a part of this program as it starts and wanting to provide the fairest and most defensible process. With that, I'm going to read those selected. I'll read out that initial number, their application number, the name, and the county in which they've said they will do business. So we will start for the processors. The following were selected. Lottery number 142, their applicant 4177, Bijal, Kentucky LLC in Boyd County. The second, lottery number 187, application number 3678, AJ Alchemy Labs LLC in Barron County. The third selected, lottery number 202, application number 3538, Jill's Dispensary LLC in Christian County. Number 4, lottery number 92, application number 4782, Hilltop Healing Invesco LLC in Warren County. The fifth, lottery number 52, application number 5006, Limestone Processing LLC, that is in Fayette County. Next, lottery number 242, application number 2094, LMMKY LLC in Warren County. The next one is lottery number 214, applicant 3415, One Leaf Technologies LLC, that is in Bullitt County. The next is lottery number 227, applicant 2703, Ice House Processing LLC in Fulton County. The ninth, lottery number 12, applicant 6021, 1248 KYP LLC in Jefferson County. And the last, number 33, is the lottery number, applicant 5613, Caldem, that's KALDEM Holdings in Muhlenberg County. So those are the 10 selected processors. From that, we will move on to the Cultivator Tier 1. Again, there are 10. First was lottery number 5. Their application number was 6012. L&O Legacies in Boyd County. The second, lottery number 38, applicant 4619, Synapse Remedies LLC in Jefferson County. The third, lottery number 49, applicant 4428, CW Bluegrass LLC, that's in Davis County. Lottery number 451, applicant 4370, Pop Cultivation LLC in Bracken County. Lottery number 112, applicant 3338, Arizona Bay Investments, LLC in Lincoln County. I just remind everyone that they have to do business in Kentucky. That would be in Lincoln County. Next is lottery number 123, applicant 2501, Wong Investment, LLC in Christian County. The next one, also in Christian County, lottery number 125, applicant 2483, Joseph Surrock, again in Christian County. The eighth is lottery number 135, applicant 1972, Elevated Essence LLC in Bullitt County. Next one is lottery number 141, applicant 1734, Slaughter Branch LLC, that is in Hopkins County. And the last Cultivator Tier 1 is 164, applicant number 1130. Is that a G? Going?
Going.
Yeah. Going Blue, I should have gotten that, LLC, and that is in Fayette County. All right, next is Cultivator Tier 2. Remember, there are 4 of these. The first one was lottery number 7, applicant 5981, NG Health, LLC in Fayette County. The second is lottery number 54, applicant number 5021, Armory, Kentucky, LLC, that is in Estill County. The third, lottery number 135, applicant 1827, is JMOKY LLC in Warren County. And the fourth and final Cultivator Tier 2, lottery number 164, Applicant 1389, Canopy Capital LLC, that is in Grant County. And the final selectees of the day are Cultivator Tier 3. Remember, this is the largest group of cultivators. There are only 2 of them at this time with this size of a program. The first winner was lottery number 45, applicant 5136, Natural State Greengrass Canico LLC in Warren County. And then the second one, lottery number 91, applicant 3429, KYS KAPP LLC in Barron County. So congratulations to all of the selectees. For those interested in future licensing lotteries, our lottery for the 11 dispensary regions is going to be announced at Thursday's Team Kentucky Update, where we will announce a select date that gives the Office of Medical Cannabis enough time to get home after today, to work through much of tomorrow. We want to set that date as early as possible, so by the end of tomorrow we will have a good idea that we can announce at Thursday's Team Kentucky Update. I want to thank all of the applicants, and this is only the first step. There's a number of different steps they'll have to go through with the Office of Medical Cannabis. There'll be inspections, again, making sure we do this right. We only get to set up the medical cannabis program once, and the number one thing that we're focused on is doing it safely and doing it correctly, especially in the first months that it's going to be in operation. We hope you'll continue your interest, and please follow along at our website, kymedcan.ky.gov, for future opportunities to be a part of this program. Remember, if the General Assembly will add extra conditions and/or the groups that are identified under law that can, we will be able to expand this program in the future, which would allow more businesses to apply in the future. Lastly, I want to tell those Kentuckians that have really needed this relief that help is on the way, that I know right now they're able to get some relief by going to other states and not facing prosecution, but there is a new day coming in Kentucky on January 1st or as soon after it as all of the dispensaries and other parts of the business get up and running, where you're going to be able to get safe medical cannabis to help you with your conditions. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sam, who has a few more words for those that were selected in the process, but excited about how far we've come. Just a final plug, if I can. It took a lot of people from all different types of political parties to make this happen. We made sure we sent a statement saying medical cannabis and the ability to secure the medication you need is not partisan in Kentucky. I want to specifically thank Senator Steve West, who we don't always agree on everything, and in fact have had some public arguments on other things, but he's been a champion on this. And if we're going to disagree with each other at times, we've got to give credit to people who've helped make things happen when they step up and do those right things. All right, Sam.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Governor. Just have a few words for our selectees that you just announced. You all, if you have been selected in the license lottery today, you will be receiving an email in the next 24 hours confirming that you have been approved to receive a medical cannabis license in the Commonwealth of Kentucky for the category for which you were selected. You will be prompted to submit your licensing fee prior to receiving your license. If you fail to submit your licensing fee within 15 days, you will forfeit the ability to receive a license per Kentucky law and administrative regulations. So please submit that fee. With that, I will turn it back over to the governor to answer any questions you all may have.
You got to stay up here. All right, we'll do it old school style and open it up to questions. Yes, Mr. Madigan.
You made a point of saying that these are going to be Kentucky businesses.
Yes.
What about the people behind the businesses, the business owners? How many of these licenses actually went to Kentucky?
We'd have to look at that since the selections were just made. My guess is that it's a mix of people who have experience in the industry and those new that are bringing in other folks. But the way this is set up is they have to grow here, they have to process here, they have to dispense here. So all the employees for the Kentucky-based operations will be here. You're going to see some economic development through this. You're going to see new businesses. You're going to see new employees. And so there are certain challenges to trying to set up a program that would only allow Kentucky-based businesses, a dormant commerce clause, and some other constitutional challenges that are there. But what we believe is we've set it up in a way that will withstand challenge and will make sure the jobs and the economic impact are here in Kentucky.
Governor, you said about withstand challenge. I know lotteries have been used in other states. Some lawsuits have happened, I believe in Missouri. Is there any concern that could happen here?
Well, certainly when you have this much interest and there's only a certain number of those that are awarded, you may see challenges, and that's something that we can't stop because, you know, if people want to file, they can file. But what we believe is that this system will help us move through that process the fastest, that it was the fairest, that things we have seen in challenges in other states won't apply here based on the way that it's been done. Everyone who qualified, everyone who was able to meet the thresholds required under law got a chance through a fair lottery where their application could have been drawn if it wasn't.
Of course, you'd want to avoid that to not lose time.
But all we can do is run the best, most fair system that we're ready to defend if anybody files. I found a long time ago you can't stop filing. You can't stop people from filing. You can just have the best system to be able to put it in front of the court and get it dismissed as quickly as you can.
You had said in the past that you would hope that there would be some products on the market starting January 1st. Do you still believe that's going to happen?
So there is a possibility, given that people can bring in some product under certain requirements that have been set up, but we do have all the inspections that will come with the dispensaries, and so I think it will be a challenge on January 1st, but we're moving as fast as we can. I think it will come quickly. I think you'll see a big ramp up, especially at the beginning of the year, but people will know where those dispensaries are going to be. The agreements with the cultivators will be worked through. We'll know the whole process that it's moving through. So I think that the entire system will get set up in a more rapid fashion than you see in other states. But whether there's product day one in every one of these dispensaries, I do think that's going to be a challenge. That's why I'm going to leave the executive order in place until those are up and running. And at that point, I will rescind it.
Governor, for the sake of full transparency, does the office or your administration intend to release the full list of the applicants now that the lottery is completed?
I would think under open records law that becomes a releasable list now that the process is complete or when it finalizes.
Is it not
Okay.
finalized yet? Because I did put in an ORR and it said that it's a working document, that it's not available.
Okay.
Is that actually the case?
So understand your question to be that you submitted an open records request for a document for the full list. The full list also contains dispensaries. Dispensaries, we have not held their licensed lottery as of yet, and some of those folks are currently receiving their applications back for returns for correction. So they'll have an opportunity to look at those, make some changes, and submit those back to us. In some instances, we've noticed where an applicant, perhaps in haste, selected the wrong city in the right county. And so we sent that back to them, allowed them the opportunity to correct that. That document will remain preliminary until such time as all of those resubmittals are in and the document is complete, and then we can provide that to you. In the meantime, we can certainly provide the list of all of the cultivator and processor applicants that we've had the licensed lottery for today, and certainly the list of folks that were included in the licensed lottery and those that were not.
Because I did receive a partial list.
Okay.
Certainly.
700, but there's,
Well, but so anything that's submitted now the drawing's been done as to cultivators and processors where the lottery's complete, we'll get you anything that's available under open records.
Governor Bashir, can you speak about the significance of this first lottery drawing, how it really gets the process, the ball rolling in a sense, for having people purchase medical marijuana?
Medical cannabis is happening. I mean, today we've learned the identity and the locations of those who will grow safe medical cannabis and those who will process safe medical cannabis. And we have already announced some labs that are going to test it. So what people ought to see is that this is a real, legitimate, regulated set of medicine that is going to be there, that can be trusted in terms of its quality, that you're going to have a healthcare professional that you're going to be talking to about it, that we are really doing this right in a way that is both legitimate and regulated and ought to give the trust to those who really need this relief, that they know what they're getting. But it's absolutely happening. The only reason that we haven't had the dispensary drawing yet is that we got so many applications, especially right at the end. And again, our number one focus is to do it right, to do it fairly, to do it with the same transparency that we had today. We set up a system where people would get a chance to cure their applications. And so when you think about the number of dispensary applications that came in, just doing that process, sticking to exactly what we said we would do, has just elongated it a little bit. But I think we're getting close. Thursday we'll announce that date, and then if you want, we'll all be back here to learn the identity of those first sets of dispensaries.
How big of an economic impact do you think this could be for Kentucky? And then how often would the license have to be renewed? 6 months once it's done? Is it every year? Or?
So I'll answer part of the first part and then let Sam. I think it's going to be a significant economic impact, but remember the scale is much smaller than some medical programs in other states that have more conditions, and it's also certainly smaller than states that may have recreational. So I just think right now the best way to look at this is more of healthcare, knowing that this is medical cannabis can help people, especially with really serious conditions, and that we are currently trying to right-size it towards those with the conditions that would be interested. So I think it's one that will only grow over time, but in the very least, like some other things we have passed through, it means that people will be buying product that is grown here, that is processed here, that is tested here, that would otherwise be in other states.
I believe the second question was related to renewals for licensees. So once a licensee receives their license, a year from that date, they'll be required to renew their license. They'll be notified some days, many days, about 60, in advance of their renewal requirement. They'll be prompted to then renew their license, and they'll be required to pay a renewal fee.
We can take one more.
About those fees, you mentioned that they have a licensing fee to pay for the people who got their licenses today. How much are we talking about?
So those fees, I don't have them off the top of my head. Those fees are available on our website, kymedcan.ky.gov. What you'll see, if you look at other states, we're certainly given the task of looking at best practices in other states. Our licensing fees and our application fees are in line with other comparable states throughout the United States.
Trevor, do you have a message for voters for next week? Because they can vote, be opting in and opting out, so some of these folks that want a license might have to move. But is there a message you want to?
Well, the message I'd send to these communities is talk to a veteran suffering from PTSD that may be taking 20 different medications that could just be taking one, and to get the relief that they not only need, but that they deserve after the service they've provided to the country. Talk to a cancer patient struggling with the pain and what other medications they may be given have side effects, and listen to them talk about how this improves their quality of life, and then think about personal freedom. And if this is a choice that somebody has made they want to pursue, and a medical professional tells them that it will help them and they can get it through a regulated entity where we know it's safe, we know what it is, and we can keep the jobs and the dollars right here in Kentucky, then we should do that. Just because you might not choose to go down that route, and I don't know if I'd choose to go down that route, doesn't mean I don't think it needs to be available to somebody else. I still remember the gentleman who served in our armed forces who came to the Team Kentucky update with his service dog, and he told me his story. And while I was supportive after that, I knew he deserved this option. I knew I'd do anything I could to get him the relief that he needed, because the difference in his life before and after is just so remarkable and so positive for him. I just want everybody that again has one of these conditions, has seen a medical professional, to have that opportunity to do it safely. One last thank you to the Kentucky, yeah, Karen.
Governor, have you had any more talk with lawmakers about expanding the list of diseases?
Yes, we continue to talk to lawmakers about expanding the list of conditions, continue to talk to the group at UK about doing that. I think there's been some nervousness on their part, but they're listed under law as being the group that does it. If they don't want to do it, let's switch the group that does it under law, but there are certainly some conditions that are not included that absolutely should be included, that are included in other states. I could understand if the legislature doesn't want to name them each year, but let's at least get a system in place that works through the medical professional community, because we have some right now that are equivalent with others that are on it, and wanting people not to have to suffer. And when we add, again, we can be back here expanding the business here in Kentucky. Thank you again to the Kentucky Lottery Corporation for bringing us the security and the transparency today. We'll be back with the dispensary lottery, but a big step forward in providing medical cannabis to the people of Kentucky. Thank you. All right. They got me headed this way then.